Hey, welcome to the very first episode of this podcast. You're listening to Big M, and honestly, it feels a little special saying that for the first time. If you're here right now, whether you know me or this is the first time you've ever heard my voice, I truly appreciate that you pressed play in this first episode. I don't want to give you fake motivation. I don't want to make big promises or act like life changes overnight. I just want to invite you into a quiet, honest journey. One that we can walk through together, step by step. And I want to start with something simple, but deep. How can you build a calmer, stronger version of yourself in the next 90 days? Just imagine that for a moment. Imagine waking up 90 days from now and realizing that something inside you has changed. Not in a dramatic way, not in a loud way, but in a real way. You feel calmer. You feel clearer. You feel more connected to yourself, more aware of your habits, your thoughts, your energy, and the life you're actually living. Not perfect, not transformed into some impossible version of success, but more grounded, more emotionally steady, more honest with yourself, and maybe, for the first time in a while, more at peace. That's what this episode is about. Not perfection, not becoming somebody else, but slowly becoming a better version of who you already are. In this episode, we're going to talk about a simple plan to rebuild yourself over 90 days. A plan that is clear, realistic, and deep enough to matter. No empty motivational quotes, no pressure to become productive every second of the day. Just a quiet process from inner chaos to calm, to discipline, to meaning. So first, let's talk about the chaos inside. Before you build anything new, you have to understand what you're already carrying. And most of us, if we're honest, are carrying a lot. Crowded thoughts, unfinished emotions, stress we never fully process, old guilt, pressure, comparison, fear of falling behind, fear of not being enough, fear that maybe we're wasting time, even when we're trying our best. Inner chaos is not just a messy room. It's not just a full schedule. It's that feeling of having too much noise inside your head all at once. It's waking up tired, even after sleeping. It's feeling overwhelmed, without even knowing exactly why. It's having important decisions in front of you, and still delaying them day after day, because you don't feel mentally clear enough to face them. And in the next 90 days, I don't want you to run away from that chaos. I want you to sit with it. I want you to face it quietly, honestly, without trying to distract yourself every 5 minutes. Ask yourself a few real questions. What is the biggest thing stressing you out right now? What have you been avoiding, even though you know it matters? How satisfied are you with your life today? Really? And what is the one change you already know you need to make, but keep postponing? Don't just think about these questions. Write them down. Because when you write things down, they stop floating around like smoke in your head. They become visible. They become real. And once something becomes clear, it also becomes easier to change. A piece of paper and a pen may sound too simple, but sometimes simplicity is exactly what you need when your mind feels overloaded. Writing is one of the first ways to create space inside yourself. Now, why 90 days? Because 90 days is long enough to create real change, but short enough to feel reachable. It's not just a random number. It gives your mind a structure, a beginning, a middle, an end, a time frame you can actually hold. 3 months is enough time to notice patterns, enough time to build habits, enough time to let go of things that no longer help you. and enough time to prove to yourself that change does not have to be extreme to be meaningful. So let's break those 90 days into 3 simple phases. The first 30 days are for cleaning. The second 30 days are for building. The last 30 days are for stabilizing. That's it. You do not need to change your entire life in 1 week. You do not need 10 new routines, 15 goals, and a color-coded schedule. You need a few changes, done consistently with patience. So let's begin with the first 30 days and the cleaning phase. The goal here is not to become amazing. The goal is to remove noise, because it is very hard to hear yourself clearly when your life is full of constant distraction. And one of the first places to clean is your digital world. Take 1 day in the first week and clean your phone. Delete the apps that waste your time without giving you anything meaningful back. Unfollow accounts that make you feel behind, insecure, or constantly compared to people you don't even know. Limit your social media to 1 or 2 specific times a day, instead of opening it every time you feel bored, uncomfortable, or empty. A lot of people think they need more discipline, but sometimes what they really need is less noise. The second part of cleaning is relationships. Ask yourself honestly, who drains your energy? Who leaves you feeling heavy, anxious, or smaller than you were before the conversation started? And on the other side, who makes you feel lighter? Who makes you feel safe? Who brings calm into your life, even without trying too hard? You do not need to cut people off in one dramatic moment. You do not need an argument. You do not need an announcement. Sometimes growth is quieter than that. Sometimes it simply means spending less time in places, conversations, and relationships that quietly exhaust you. And then comes inner cleaning. Before bed, for just 10 minutes, write what you feel. Write what you're afraid of. Write what made you angry. Write the pressure you keep pretending doesn't affect you. Write the things you never say out loud. It does not need to sound beautiful. It does not need to be organized. No one else needs to read it. The point is not to write perfectly. The point is to stop carrying everything alone inside your mind. Then comes the second phase, building. Once the noise becomes quieter, you can finally start to build something stronger. Not a perfect life, not a perfect routine, just habits that move you forward, little by little. And this part is important. Do not choose 10 habits. Choose 2. 1 habit for your body. 1 habit for your mind. For your body, keep it simple. A 20-minute walk every day. A short home workout. Stretching before bed. Anything that gets you moving consistently. Because when your body feels heavy all the time, your mind often feels heavy too. And sometimes we underestimate how much physical movement affects emotional balance. For your mind, choose 1 quiet habit. Read 10 pages a day. Journal for 5 or 10 minutes. Sit in silence and observe your breathing. Even just a few minutes of stillness can begin to change the relationship you have with your thoughts. And while you do this, be gentle with yourself. Do not ruin your progress by turning it into pressure. If you miss a day, come back the next day. If you lose focus, return to the habit simply and calmly. The goal is not to be flawless. The goal is to become consistent. Consistency is not loud. It is not exciting every day. It is often repetitive, quiet, and invisible at first. But over time, it changes everything. Now we reach the last 30 days, stabilization and calm. This phase is not about adding more. It's about protecting what you built. By this point, you may already notice something changing. Maybe not in a dramatic way, but in small signs. Your thoughts feel a little clearer. Your mornings feel a little less rushed. You react with a little more awareness. You need a little less chaos to feel alive. And now your job is to protect that. One of the best ways to do that is through weekly reflection. Once a week, sit with yourself for 20 or 30 minutes. Ask yourself, what did I do well this week? Where did I fall short? What drained me? What helped me? What is one small thing I can improve next week? That kind of reflection keeps you awake to your own life. It stops you from living on autopilot. It reminds you that growth is not just about doing more. Sometimes it is about noticing more. This is also the phase where you redefine success. Success is not only money, not only appearance, not only status. Sometimes success is being able to stay calm in a situation that used to destroy your mood. Sometimes success is returning to your habit after a difficult week. Sometimes success is understanding yourself better. Instead of attacking yourself every time you struggle, sometimes success is finally saying no to something that has been draining you for a long time. And maybe one of the most important things you can learn in these 90 days is to treat calm like a value, not as laziness, not as weakness, not as a lack of ambition, but as something powerful. Because a calm person is not an empty person. A calm person is someone who has started to create space inside themselves. Space to think clearly. Space to choose wisely. Space to breathe before reacting. Space to hear their own soul without the world shouting over it. So ask yourself, does your current life have any real calm in it? If the answer is no, start small. 10 quiet minutes in the morning without your phone. A cup of coffee or tea without scrolling. A short walk while actually noticing the sky. A moment at sunset where you stop trying to be productive and simply exist. These moments may look small, but they teach your nervous system that life does not always have to feel rushed. And when the 90 days end, the goal is not to say, great, I finished the challenge. The goal is to say, now I know what actually helps me live better. Now I know what kind of habits make me feel more like myself. Now I know what noise I no longer want in my life. You do not need to keep improving everything. You only need to keep protecting what matters. One habit for your body, one habit for your mind. A little honesty each week, a little more awareness each day. And if you can do that, then maybe these 90 days won't just be a phase. Maybe they will become the beginning of a different way of living. So before we end this first episode, I want to remind you of something. You are not a broken project that needs fixing. You are a human being who has been shaped by experiences, pain, pressure, mistakes, hope, and survival. And growth does not mean rejecting who you are. It means meeting yourself with more honesty, more care, and more courage. These 90 days are not a punishment. They are not a test of your worth. They are simply a gift, a chance to start again with more awareness, more calm, and more respect for your own journey. And if anything in this first episode touched something inside you, don't just move on like it meant nothing. Start today. Not with a perfect plan. Not with a complete life reset. Just one small step. A piece of paper. A pen. A few honest answers. And a quiet decision that this time you will not abandon yourself so easily. Thank you so much for being here with me in this very first episode. It really means a lot. And if this episode helped you in any way, share it with someone who might need to hear it too.